I am Carey, from Washington. I had always been fascinated by the idea of living alone in a city like New York. This incident happened when I was 22, just about a year ago. I'm 23 now. At the time, I was working as a teacher. I come from an Orthodox family that had never allowed me to work when I was a child. However, when I turned 19, I decided to move to my aunt's house in New York. After convincing my family, I made the move and found a job as a teacher through my aunt's friend. I was thrilled to become a teacher. Now, I had a temporary job with a good salary and a place to live. I stayed there for 3 months and then thought I had enough money to rent my own house. I discussed this with my aunt, who initially objected, but was eventually convinced, so I began searching for a rental house. After some time, I found a decent house at a fair price, which I thought was a good deal. I spoke with the house owner, and he told me I could move in on the first day of the next month. Everything seemed perfect. I had a job, money, a nice house, and some friends. A few days later, on the 1st of the month, I moved into my new house with all my belongings. A new friend came over to help me unpack, and when we were done, we ordered pizza and watched a horror movie. At midnight, she left to join a party with her boyfriend, leaving me alone. I decided it was time to sleep as I was tired and sleepy. I made my bed, sat on it, and then I heard a noise coming from downstairs. It was a one-floor home with the ground floor and the first floor. I initially thought it was just me making those sounds, but they continued. My worry grew. Lacking the bravery to check, I somehow convinced myself to do it. I left my room and proceeded downstairs. When I reached the window, I turned on the lights and saw a man holding a knife. I panicked and rushed back to my room, but he followed and grabbed me, covering my mouth and attempting to choke me. He made me lose consciousness. When I woke up, I was tied up and unable to move. He was sharpening his knife and looking at me. My phone was within reach, so I used my legs to grab it and hid it under my clothes. I asked him why he was doing this, and he revealed that he was an agent who worked for money and killed people for a fee. I asked who had hired him, and he said, "Your lover, Adam." This revelation shocked me. Adam was my co-worker at the school where I taught. We were friends, and we occasionally went for coffee. However, he once confessed his feelings for me, which I rejected. I blocked him on social media and avoided him at work, as he was the type who used girls for fun. He eventually stopped trying to get close to me. The man finished sharpening his knife and approached me, asking if I had any last wishes. I replied that I wanted to eat my last packet of chips. He asked where it was, and I said it was in the kitchen drawer. He went to the kitchen, and the first seized the opportunity to call 911 as quickly as possible. I explained everything, and luckily, they weren't far from my house. They arrived in 5 minutes, and upon hearing the police siren, the intruder fled. However, the police managed to apprehend him, and I provided a detailed statement. It was revealed that Adam had hired the agent to kill me. Now, I live with my family in Washington and work in my father's business. I'll never forget that weekend when I was home alone. My parents had gone on a much-needed trip, and I was relishing the idea of having the house all to myself. The first night they were away, I decided to make the most of it. I had my favorite book, a cozy blanket, and some snacks. Everything was peaceful, and I was finally able to unwind. As I lost myself in the pages of my book, the only sound in the house was the turning of pages and the occasional creaking of the floorboards. However, that tranquility didn't last long. I began to hear an eerie, unfamiliar noise that seemed to be coming from the basement. At first, I thought it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, but the persistent and unsettling sound convinced me otherwise. I couldn't ignore it any longer. My curiosity mixed with a growing sense of unease, and I decided to investigate. Armed with a flashlight, I tiptoed down the dimly lit staircase to the basement. The noise grew louder, with every step, and I could feel my heart racing when I reached the bottom. I hesitated for a moment before summoning the courage to turn on the basement light. What I saw sent a shiver down my spine. There, standing in the corner of the basement, was a man wearing a menacing mask. When our eyes met, the intruder threw something at me. I stumbled and fell down the stairs. He quickly closed the distance, and I was terrified. In my panic, I spotted an oil can nearby and waved my hand to knock it over, making the stairs slippery. He lost his balance and slipped, giving me a chance to escape. I rushed to the living room and hid under the table, pondering my next move. The intruder appeared, trying to coax me into giving him whatever he wanted. He assured me he wouldn't harm me, but I didn't trust him. As he got closer to the table, I could see his legs, but he remained unaware of my presence. He ventured into the kitchen and grabbed a knife. Upon returning, he suddenly kicked the table, revealing my hiding place. I dashed away, realizing he was an older man with slower reflexes. I made it to the bathroom, trembling with fear. I thought I was safe, but the night was far from over, and my phone was in my room. I cautiously left the bathroom and found him waiting. We struggled, and he managed to injure me with the knife. Despite the pain, I pushed him away and reached my room. As I reached my room and called 911, I could hear the intruder coming closer. My heart raced, and the seconds felt like hours. The operator assured me that help was on the way, but it was a terrifying wait. The intruder eventually reached my room and started banging on the door, demanding I let him in. I held the door as best as I could, fearing he might break through. The minutes stretched on, and I thought of ways to defend myself if he managed to get inside. Just when it felt like I couldn't hold the door any longer, I heard the sirens of the approaching police cars. The intruder heard them too and realized his time was up. He fled, leaving me shaken but safe. The police arrived and took my statement, and I provided a detailed description of the intruder. They assured me they would do their best to apprehend him. After the ordeal, my parents and I made significant upgrades to our home security, and I learned the importance of being prepared for emergencies. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, I had a peculiar fascination with radios. My basement was a treasure trove of radio equipment, antennas, and frequencies waiting to be explored. It was my haven, a retreat from the monotony of everyday life. One fateful evening, everything changed when I stumbled upon a strange, otherworldly signal. The voice on the other end was distorted, struggling to convey its enigmatic message. It sent shivers down my spine, and I became obsessed with deciphering it. As I delved deeper into the message, my life took a sinister turn. Unexplained events began to haunt my home. Objects moved of their own accord, and eerie whispers, like ghostly echoes, emanated from the very walls. I couldn't ignore the link between these occurrences and the enigmatic signal. My obsession with understanding the message drove me to the brink. I neglected my well-being, appearing disheveled and wild-eyed, a stark contrast to the person I once was. Friends and family grew increasingly concerned, urging me to abandon my quest, but I couldn't turn back. The signal felt like an invitation, a call from an unknown world, and I was compelled to respond. I used my technical skills to construct a powerful radio setup to transmit a reply. When I initiated the transmission, a chilling wave of dread washed over me. It was as if something malevolent had entered my world. That night, my home transformed into an eerie and unsettling realm. Lights flickered erratically, shadows moved with an eerie purpose, and sinister voices echoed all around me. I was no longer alone. A malevolent entity had crossed over from the other side. Days turned into a waking nightmare. The unseen stalker tormented me relentlessly, whispering cryptic tasks in my ear, challenging my sanity. It played malevolent tricks on my mind and pushed me ever closer to the edge of madness. Desperation led me to seek help from paranormal experts and researchers, but they were powerless in the face of the entity's malevolence. my obsession had unwittingly opened a door to a dimension beyond human understanding, and the entity was unrelenting in its pursuit. As a final act of desperation, I returned to my basement to transmit a plea for mercy. Instead of a response, the entity issued a series of chilling tasks, each more bizarre and terrifying than the last. It demanded I complete them within a strict time frame, or face eternal torment. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, I embarked on the nightmarish journey set forth by the entity. Each task tested my limits, and the consequences of failure were too horrifying to contemplate. As the minutes ticked away, I raced against time, my life and sanity hanging in the balance. The culmination of this ordeal was a night of sheer terror, as I confronted my deepest fears and faced impossible challenges set by the unseen stalker. The entity watched from the shadows, its presence suffocating. I completed the tasks just in the nick of time, proving my obedience to the malevolent entity. The following morning, as I gazed upon my silent radios, I knew that my life would never return to normal. The unseen stalker had retreated for now, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it lingered in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to return and plunge me into an abyss of eternal darkness.